What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel. And I am back with yet another album review. And today, well, I know this album came out digitally a couple of months ago, and it came out physically last week. But since last week was just so overloaded, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do this review this week to finally talk about it and get it out of the way for you guys who have been curious to hear my opinion. And I am talking about the latest offering from Neurosis, An Undying Love for a Burning World. This came out digitally, I believe it was March 20th, and it came out physically on May 8th on Neurot Records, and this is the band's 12th studio full-length overall. Of course, legends of post-metal, sludge metal, doom metal. Hell, early on they were more of like a crusty hardcore band that kind of inspired a few crusty hardcore bands to come, but mostly known for their post-metal lenient stuff and more sludgy riffing and doomy atmosphere. So I figured, you know what? Let's finally talk about this band on the channel, especially since it's been 10 years since their last album, and a lot has changed in the band since then. Namely, Scott Kelly leaving or being outed from the band due to allegations and so on and so forth, which I'm not going to get into. But to take over his place as the frontman, so to speak, and guitarist would be Aaron Turner from the band ISIS, who are also another legendary post-metal, sludge metal band. So it almost seemed like the perfect marriage, pretty much, having Aaron Turner come in to fill in the shoes of Scott Kelly. And, well, what were the results? Well, let's get into the songs. So, songwriting wise, it's pretty much Neurosis through and through. It is, sludgy riffs. You get some like doomy sections, lots of dissonance, some atonal melodies, clean melodies. Again, that whole like dynamic thing that happens with post metal where you get like heavy, loud riffing and then it just like calms down into like clean melodies or softer melodies to like really showcase a lot of songwriting dynamic in terms of the actual volume dynamics within the song. Not to the extent of like say prog metal where it's always about like the dynamics going from a section to another section through like riff changes, so on and so forth. Like this is more all about like going from like heavy loudness to like soothing, calm, clean, and wonderful sounding, or at times dark sounding. Like I can definitely hear where Ulcerate get a little bit of their influence from is from a band like this. After all, I often say Ulcerate's like what would happen if Gorga, Assimilation, Deathspell Omega, and Neurosis were all the same band. But anyways, let's go into the actual song. So after the opening intro track, We Are Torn Wide Open, we go into the true opening song, Mirror Deep, which is actually one of the shorter songs at like 5.5 minutes. But man, they pack so much in that song. Like it's sludgy riffing with some dissonant atmosphere. And of course, you also get like plenty of synths, like sci-fi synths to kind of add. Excuse me, still recovering from dinner. Anyways, to add this like almost cosmic vibe, I want to say it's cosmic, but then of course the clean melodies come in, and then suddenly after this more downtrodden section of clean melodies and soft melodies, sudden shift into like a big heavy groove. Which, of course, that is a trope of post metal going from like a softer moment into something really, really heavy. But as the album keeps going on, it's like it basically sticks in that realm where it's just sludgy, doomy, almost stoner riffs at times, especially when you get to the song Untethered. Like that song kind of gets almost stoner metal esque because there's some like almost psychedelic guitars in there and like spacey guitars that kind of give it that psychedelic vibe or space rock vibe, depending on where you really think it fits. So, yeah, it's like you get occasionally some of that on that song, but for the most part, it still remains like heavy, dissonant, atonal, groovy. Hell, even a notable bass line that just felt grimy and nasty sounding. But, excuse me, going back to an earlier track like First Red Rays, that song, I love how it starts off with these synth passages into the sludgy doomy riffing, and there's like more almost death metal growls. Now I know there's like multiple vocalists, like Aaron, Steve Von Till, so on and so forth. I'm curious to know who was doing like almost the death metal vocals at times. I almost want to say it was Aaron Turner. I could be wrong because again, I'm not like the world's biggest expert on this band, even though I have few albums. I've not like dove head on into them, you know what I mean? So I'm not the world's biggest expert when it comes to Neurosis. So I'm not sure of like whose vocal style is distinct or whatever. Like of course, when Scott was there, I could tell Scott Kelly's vocals, especially helping out with Mastodon songs, which I would say there are parts on this album, especially whenever it gets into like the slightly more up tempo moments or like a little bit up in the speed. I can definitely hear where Mastodon got a little bit of their influence from as well. So I'm learning more as I dive into this band. And yeah, especially on First Red Rays, I can definitely tell where Mastodon gets some of their influence from. And I will say there's not much in the way of lead work on this album. You only get like particularly lead melodies on First Red Rays and Blind. So yeah, there's no like true blues solos or anything like that. It's just mostly the melody kind of carrying the mood within the song. But it does shift quite a bit when it comes down to the different songwriting tropes. Like Seething and Scattered, that one focuses more on, like, triplet rhythms, like, it's the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or, like, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, kind of rhythm because, like, the riffs kinda have a little bit I don't wanna necessarily say triplet chug, but more just, like, riffs in a triplet pattern. But, of course, there's actually a chorus, believe it or not, there's a chorus on this song, and it's a pretty savage chorus, like, it's just angry and dark and just ferocious. And then, of course, more synths. Hell, there's even some tribal drums, which that's really the only time on this album where you kind of get like tribal drums. But then you get to the last two songs. First, In the Waiting Hours, over 10 minutes, but man, again, they're just doing quite a bit. Clean melodies to kind of begin the song, then it goes into just again primal, heavy, sludgy, doomy riffs, but there's some like odd time signatures like 3/4, maybe even like 5/4 I might hear at times. I could be wrong on the time counts, but I could definitely hear a 3/4 time going on, which is always pretty cool. But then you get towards the end of the song, and the guitars kinda take you on this, like, strange cosmic journey, but the guitars themselves kinda remind me a little bit of Tool, like, it's got a little bit of that, like, big strum to it, but it's got, like kinda reminds me of the tone on, say, Lateralis, for example, like, it kinda reminded me of, like, the ending of the song Schism, but done by Neurosis and done with, like, more strumming on the guitar. So, yeah, it definitely added a bigger, like, darker vibe on top of it all, and then the closer, the n I th over 16 minutes, almost 17-minute closer, Last Light, and man, ambience with, like, anguished spoken word, it's doomy, it's dissonant, hell, you even get some, like, uplifting melodies just completely out of nowhere. It's like it kind of almost sounds like it could be out of place, but honestly, they make it work. Like, because with Neurosis, I wouldn't expect to hear, like, anything quote unquote "uplifting." I expect to hear darkness and somber quality and sorrow. This actually kinda gets a little bit more uplifting at times, especially with the melodies, they kinda soar a little bit, but then you get this, like, cool atmospheric passage where the drums, the synths, and the clean melodies, and even the bass all just kinda go for a walk, and it just kinda takes your mind off of whatever's going on in your life and just kinda be there and just like, take it all in and just relaxing. It kind of has that quality to it, which I can definitely appreciate. Production wise, I mean, it's gritty, it's very, very filthy sounding, but the mix is really, really strong. Like, you can hear everything pretty damn well. Nothing's, like, overpowering anything else. And I love the vocals on here. Like, they go from, like, big sludgy barks to death metal growls. Even some clean vocals, like on First Red Rays, Last Light, and to a lesser extent Blind. Like, those songs have some more clean vocals or cleaner vocals than what you're getting on this album for the most part. As far as any negatives go, really the most minor grievance I have with this album would be Blind and Seething and Scattered. Both start off with ambient passages, and it's like back to back ambient passages. I think if you would have switched some songs around, like, I would say maybe put First Red Rays in between Blind and Seething and Scattered, it would make the album flow a little bit better, so that way you don't get, like, two similar openings to back tracks. But aside from that, all these songs were phenomenal in terms of songwriting and performance. I'm gonna give this 4.5 out of 5. I was pretty damn blown away by this with just, and the advantage, it's over an hour long, but it didn't really feel like it was an hour long. If anything, it felt more like a 45-minute listen. So that is one of the big advantages. It just kind of goes by because you're just kind of lost in the atmosphere, but in a good way. It's like you're locked in on it, but it doesn't feel like it lasts an eternity. It sounds like it lasts like a normal album cycle would. So that is a huge, huge plus to this album, that it doesn't feel like it takes so long. So if you love Neurosis, then if you've, or I would say, no doubt if you love Neurosis, you love this album, but if you're kind of a novice fan like myself, this is actually a pretty solid place to begin, considering 10 years in terms of 10 years in between releases. I bet some people may have forgotten about this band, but now that they're back, I think they're on the path to glory yet again. But hey, we'll see what happens next. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, thank you for watching, keep your horns high, and your dreams wet.